Hold on. All right. Greetings and blessings, family. One love.
Yay. Hey,
Welcome.
everybody.
I'm here today with my buddy Owen Fox. Owen is another father, breatharian acolyte or practitioner, raw foodist, herbalist, health coach, and friend, and we share a lot of commonalities. And so we just wanted to get together today and have a little conversation about breatharianism and raw food and nutrition and this whole conversation that is so
Yeah.
important to all of us right now. So
Yeah.
thank you, Owen, for joining me.
Yeah. My pleasure, Jesse. Thanks for joining me as well. Lovely to be here. And hi, everybody. Welcome to the video.
And Owen's coming to us from Scotland, right?
Ireland. Good old Ireland.
Yes.
Lots of ancestry of America.
Part of
Ireland.
my ancestors on my dad's side were Scotch-Irish.
Hi, cool.
French Canadian. So I feel you.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, beautiful day to be here. Hope everyone's feeling well and enjoying life, the roller coaster. And here me and Jesse are getting together to talk about those topics. And
yeah, so maybe, something I'd like to kind of start off with, or I don't know, we both shared our story a little bit, and that's, an important piece because it's good to be able to relate, into people's experiences. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about sort of the theory around, nutrition and relate it to like Hilton, Hotema and Breatharianism and Dr. Sebi and, Robert Morse
and Eric
and all these folks.
Yeah.
In my experience and from my understanding and knowledge around this subject is the real situation is that we're all breatharians, and we have sort of, it almost relates to the biblical story of Adam in the garden eating the fruit of knowledge and the fall from grace, in that we once, on the one hand, who were the pyramid builders? I think we were more brilliant. We had more, the ancients had wisdom that far and scientific knowledge that far exceeds what we have now. And I think that's part of our human heritage, as well as this ability to live on prana, and part of that enables this brilliance. But as we started to try to just experience more of the world and try the things and eat them, and then we got into a little more carnal life, and then sex and meat and then drugs and
stimulants.
And so everything is essentially poisonous stimulant that we have adapted to, like on opiate,
Yeah, like it's amazing. Like I love what you're sharing. It's like you don't mind me butting in. We can just butt into each other a little bit. Like it kind of keeps the conversation like more like organic flow instead of like block.
That's what.
Yeah. It reminds me of like what I think it was Ellie. I think it was Ellie Tom Elamine or somebody else who said. Yeah, I think it was his Facebook post saying like the most heaviest human being was like 1,000 kilograms, and the fact that like we can adapt to, like we are adaptive. As human beings, our biological body is like super duper adaptive. Like, how can you stay alive with 1,000 kilograms? Like, you don't see, like, obviously other animals like they can't get that far. They don't seem to have that coping adaptive mechanism. Even if they do eat our food, they tend to die and keel over way sooner before they get like way out of the ordinary, like general like stratosphere or like the boundary of normality. And it also reminds us, people say like, like we survived off a whole lot of junk food for like 18 years or more. You don't think we can't survive off just simply less food, or like healthy natural food, or raw food, or vegan plant food, or vegan food, or like more liquidarian and breatharian? Like, how did we stay alive and not die if we were like living off pizza, McDonald's, and soda for like 25 or 30 years? But we can't just like live off a little bit less calories, So yeah, like we can definitely adapt. We adapt our way back to Breatharianism, basically speaking, right?
Y-
And to add in, if we kept our children like less, giving them food all the time because we're having food all the time, some people do that, and then the child stays as like, you know, a raw vegan or a liquidarian slash pranic slash breatharian, you know. So that when we don't bend the child that way out of shape, they don't have to spend years going back. But if we were started off that way, we wouldn't have such a long journey going back, because our body and vessel will be way stronger and cleaner, and it would be already adapted from the very beginning to just having a little bit of breast milk, and the rest would be air or any just other liquids. That's all a baby has, you know.
Well, you know, that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I think there's a confusion too about it, because that is true, but it's not going to come through. And you have some experience with this, even like moving to fruitarianism, you know, and I did too, just moving even to raw foods. And anyone out there working with those can feel like you get this energy, like uh, surge, and you feel really great. But then maybe you start to kind of detox too much in your
Mm,
body, and to have this,
yeah,
we have to realize that it has taken us, it's been millennia of
yeah,
consuming generation after generation,
big time. Yeah,
and in our own individual lifetime, like you said, 30,
yeah,
40
yeah, yeah.
years of eating this really toxic stuff. And when people die from fasting, it's usually not from malnutrition. It's usually from autotoxicity.
It really is, surprisingly, or breaking the fast on something like potatoes or meat or bread.
So
Yeah,
you
or yeah,
you liberate all this gunk that's inside you from that accumulation of all that junk food from years of having it, and then it can literally poison you. So
mm,
you need to allow yourself to go back and forth. And
yeah, yeah,
people who follow the 80-20 kind of guide of like
yeah,
80%
yeah, yeah.
of the time you do it perfectly, and you give yourself
Mm,
20% of the time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
what
Yeah,
you
I
know.
know, I know. A lot of people don't say this. Like, you know, a lot of authors are like people like just recommend switch over, no time to waste. And I think that can be true for some people, especially people who are less toxic or have greater elimination channels based off stronger born constitution or and better diet
Yeah,
in this lifetime.
right.
So that all adds up to less toxicity because of better diet or better constitution, resulting in way better elimination via the skin, the kidneys, the peeing, pooping, everything is stronger, you know. And that's what iridology clearly shows. And it isn't just like an idea; it can be totally corresponding to the physical experiences of the people, with like thousands and thousands of different people with different iridology readings. So like, I know my iridology, and I know it's definitely corresponded to having a bit of a longer drawn out detoxification and revitalization period, because I personally burnt myself out tremendously in my early 20s, and I also was born with a medium constitution at best. Um, yeah, so like
Mhm.
depending on current vitality and previous like health overall, if we burnt ourselves out or we took a whole lot of drugs, like if we damaged ourselves or injured ourselves, like having organs removed potentially, that type of stuff, any type of injury or massive burnout, that takes away the currency of life, energy, you know, vital force, essence. So yeah, I actually really like what you say, and that's why I was sort of giggling, because I do resonate. For the vast majority, I think it's very important to have like an approximate 80-20. Like, it could be any type of percentage, but the whole idea is like, don't be completely and utterly fixated and like bent, like, or completely like a steel arrow. Like, you have to be a bit flexible
Mhm.
to go back and forth, to slow down detox, and maybe to allow time for readjustment or revitalization, or you can call it also rebuilding. And that could be like part physical nutrients, part just only or prana. But when we just need to readjust to gaining weight again, for example, if we lose too much weight, and
Mhm.
that's just down to the body recalibrates from a very strong momentum of detoxification versus rebuilding, you know. So yeah,
Well, everything is this, sine wave, right? Like, so the breath, in and out, um,
yeah,
and same with fasting, or, with meditation, your emotions could be like going like this, but with
yeah,
meditation, you get it to get more like this. And the same
yeah,
is true with the fasting, and dietary aspect of becoming breatharian, you know, that you can't just achieve it by putting tape on your mouth, as Ellie Tom says.
Yeah.
You have to
Imagine.
clean like you were mentioning, the elimination channels, the energetic channels, the lymphatic channels, for
Yeah,
the prana
100%.
to flow freely. You need to learn to attenuate your body to prana through sun gazing, through meditation, through qigong and refining of your qi and the building of your qi.
Yeah.
Through diet. Initially is going to
Through
be
balance.
yeah, and
Not.
you can use diet and herbs, to start to move your body to balance. And as you detoxify this accumulation in your eliminatory system, your fat lymphatic system, in your energetic channels that fills up then like your stomach and then your respiratory system and then your brain and causes these various diseases we have like digestive problems and respiratory problems and neurological problems.
Yeah.
That time to detoxify with the fruits, the living water and that structured water that's high in prana, high in biophotons, and that's going to astringe, detoxify, and quell inflammation. So
Yeah.
that's that inflammatory diet that we're accustomed to through standard American or standard Western diet is the antithesis of that is those cooling, healing, antioxidant raw foods and fruits. So
Yeah. All those practices. I love what you shared there, and I fully agree. Right now, I'm barefoot, and I deliberately went to the beach because I just thought, like, why not like go to a real nice setting with fresh air? Like my favorite place is good job, me too. Foot five. Me and
yeah,
my family, some of my children, foot five. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and also like not excessives. Like don't be excessively eating, don't be excessively taking drugs, don't be excessively sexually active and like having excessive peak orgasms, which are like really high stimulation and then like a lower come down effect, very much like caffeine, for example. Just try keep moderate, like just overall a bit of a steady, even keel, like, or if you sometimes like have something, try like make up for it, so to speak. um, we want to just pay attention to ourselves, holistically, physically, mentally, emotionally, and relationally. Because in terms of vital essence, sometimes we can have very draining relationships. We get into that deeper another time, but sometimes relationships or work or what we work as, they can be huge drains too, and stressful and
yes,
distract us from the physical parts too.
that's a hugely valuable point. Because most people concentrate around
Yeah,
food and the fasting aspect. You know, and that's what I wanted to bring out in this is that because there's almost like in the breatharian community a shaming of eating in a way, which is
yeah.
you know we
It's
want to
like a
narrow
perfection. Yeah,
ourselves into the best health possible and support each other and realize that there's a
yeah,
journey and that's not just like a you know so and the things that you mentioned about your sexual energy and that the cerebral spinal fluid. That's your seminal fluid is your cerebral spinal fluid or your sexual fluid if you're a woman, you know, and the more it recirculates, the more it refines and it
yeah.
refines you and it's an energy. It's actually, it phosphoresces. That's why in sex crime scenes they use fluorescent lights because it bioluminesces in the right light. It's actually light.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. That's
So the
interesting.
more we can circulate this, the more it refines. And then when you go to actually have a child in conscious union, then you are giving that child the best of your genetic potency, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Including
it's
the more we detoxify and improve our health and vitality and our essence, our spirit, our aura, our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, creational state and relational state, the more we improve all of these, we will have a healthier baby too.
mhm,
To get higher upgrades of our DNA and physical
right.
DNA as well. We'll have better gametes, sperm and egg. Mm. It's
Hmm.
important to detoxify and replenish ourselves as much as we can. Like all within reason. Like no one, we ain't perfectionists here. We're more like realists and caring. My main thing is don't be shaming anyone. It's like what you said. Like that's my number one thing. Probably don't shame anyone, like yourself or others. as if they're wrong or a bad person, or wrong for not like being breatharian or fasting enough, or they're wrong for having a potato or nothing like that, And then just to love ourselves. That self-love is the most important, as well as not shaming. We want to love ourselves and love others. And that's like loving ourselves and others is like there's three parts of self-love. Is like you'll nurture yourself, and then you protect yourself. And yeah, that's basically it. You love yourself by nurturing and feeding yourself good stuff of every kind, including job, relations, where you live, your environment, the food, the drink, your sleep, everything, sun gazing, which I love too. And all these good things we're talking about. And then you protect yourself from the draining energies or relationships or environments or places or people or habits. You do your best, but you don't shame yourself when you're exiting negative or toxic in people, in relationships or habits, or eating or drinking or anything. It's going to bed later or whatever else. You don't shame yourself, but you work at loving and protecting yourself and caring and nurturing others as well, with no shame on anybody, with conscious communication. So, like, I guess in the intro, like I forgot to say, or like what I like to do the most is like for me is like I like relationship coaching the most, or inner work. That's sort of the part that I hone in on the most, that I find the trickiest and hardest, but I've been doing for so many years, and it ties totally obviously into relationships, like the self-work, inner work, and healing. So I'm all about that, like shadow work, like past trauma, like PTSD, CPTSD, complex trauma, and then different like states, different things we might be like diagnosed with, like all these things, ADHD, bipolar, like borderline. All of these are just schizophrenia. They're just various forms, typically, of like past trauma. Like at least most of the things I mentioned there. So like the whole diet thing is completely and utterly tied into our trauma level, because we'll always seek a stimulant or something to sedate us, to deny our emotions that we're hiding from or running away from, or shame that we're running away from. So we'll eat our way out, or take drugs, or have a toxic relationship, or be addicted to sex, or blah blah blah. It could be anything. So that's why there's a deep root related to our past and our own mental, emotional, and relational and spiritual state that ties completely into diet. I think diet is a bit more on the top, but these things are more on the root. So
yes, yeah,
yeah,
I feel like a lot of that stuff is karmic. That has an energy that is like beyond physical, but it relates to our physical, and our physical body. We can, if you nourish, there's people like Robert Morse has healed, people with all manner of neurological diseases, all manner of ADHD, a lot of the things that are mental disorders. And I can tell you from my own personal experience that when I was in college, I did what most people did. I was, drinking beer and smoking weed and eating Taco Bell, and really bad.
Me too.
Sleeping well, lots of coffee, everything down, of the stimulate or, try to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
right.
and that threw me into like a depression. To me, it was actually more of a dawning of the samsaric nature of existence and the way our habits create our reality. Because then I took time after that. Then that was the beginning of my journey around like 19, maybe 20, when I started meditating, working with vegetarian diets, doing like acupuncture, and that was like the real start of my self-care journey, you know.
Wow.
Uh, I fell off the wagon again, in my mid-20s and late 20s, and then, with the accountability partnership of my wife, we got into raw foods, and that just sent me on a catapult of immense healing that really changed my life. And I, quit drinking, I quit porn, I quit, all of those habits that were dragging me down, and I started to embrace my role more as a father, and to, accountability and the responsibility and duty of that. And so it's
Well done.
really true that if you nurture, and as you were saying too, nurturing your and detoxifying for your creative energies, your life force energy, like the fruits and particularly are the best. And I wanted to get into that a little bit about with you, because we were talking, uh, privately about this
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and
We had a really good conversation there, didn't we?
yeah, you were asking
And then it sparked this idea to talk.
yeah, you were asking, you were had questions about your experience with your pranic initiation you just had, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
do you want to just share about that, and then we'll.
Yeah. I did a pranic process, 9-day process in person in Italy,
Mhm.
at the Pranic Eden Center, with Nicholas Pilarz and Raffaella, his partner, and with I think there was 9 attendees, one translator, and there's obviously some other people around the place, of course, but there was 9 attendees, so me and 8 others. And yeah, it was lovely. It was like very like camaraderie, like good camaraderie, wonderful experience. I really liked that. And the setting was lovely too. Yeah, it was definitely interesting. We tracked our calories, our milliliters per day, and our weight every rising,
Hmm.
and it was fascinating. Yeah, it was good. And we basically had like very simple things, like it wasn't any fresh juices or like from a juicer or a blender. It was more like a mixture of salty and savory, or even optional like tea or coffee or chocolate, or like coffee substitute as well, or else also like store bought nut milks, like almond milk, rice milk, oat milk, coconut milk, that type of thing, as well as like sauce, or you can make your own little soup. So it was fascinating. Yeah, there wasn't any living food really, and there's also like purees, like like the purees you buy in a shop, like apple puree or apple and peach puree. Um, so yeah, like that was a little bit of a surprise to me, but I've already learned about like erit. Like I guess there's 3 different approaches. Like there's raw foodism and fruitarianism, and then there's like liquidarianism of any kind, cooked or raw, and then there's erit, like low starch, like low mucusless forming. So I feel like pretty much anybody can adopt like a variety of different systems to reach their journey of emotional and mental and physical like clearing and cleansing, to reach
Mhm.
a more pure or higher vibrational like state and a vessel that is receptive to higher frequencies emotionally and mentally too.
Mhm.
So, and obviously relationally, then it ties into relationally and all of your choices in life. But yeah, it's a body, mind, spirit process. Like you said, like you can work at emotions from the physical and fasting and diet, and our mind, and we can also work at it from the other way around, and we can work at them together. I like to work at them together. um but you can't have just the physical, I think, without some inner, like it'll spill off onto the mental emotional when you work on the physical. But a lot of people do fall into the trap of working on the physical too much, but they don't really grow too much as a person. They become a bit fanatical. They have the shame, they have the I'm better than you, who's eating like meat or cooked food thing, all this sort of stuff. So you have to be really, really, really careful of some pitfalls, which really seriously hinders your growth and your connection with other people, and the awakening and opening of your heart and all that sort of stuff in your consciousness. But yeah, getting back to the process, yeah, it was really interesting, good and positive and enjoyable. And in 8 days or 9 days, 8 days, I only lost like 0.7 of a kilogram, which is a surprise. I was still having like maybe over 2,000 calories a day on average, just over. But on the very last day, I lost a bit more because I was having amazing like my GI tract was working like in super fine efficiency, and I was just like clearing out, and yeah, I lost a few more, like a little bit more weight. So, but no big deal. I've already gained nearly all of it back anyway in the space of a week being home.
So
So yeah,
that's thank you so much for sharing that, because and someone that we got some comments here.
yeah,
Brother says peace
comments are
and
good.
love, high vibes, y'all, and
Hey,
also says are bell peppers anti prana. So that gets into what you were just um, talking about with the liquidarianism, even though it wasn't like all raw or
yeah.
necessarily biased,
No raw.
like the nut milks from the store and stuff.
Yeah,
That thing with liquidarianism, and you were experiencing the elimination being so clean and easy.
it was incredible. Like, yeah, like the thing that I found about liquidarianism, you never really tired as long as you're having like light liquids, because in Nicholas's form of liquidarianism / breatharianism / pranic process, you can have stuff like sauces, soups, dips, spreads. So like there was like passata or like Italian tomato ketchup, for example. Some people even have like monoform hummus. It's basically like baby food, as if you had no teeth. Like you can have like basically a lot of these like spreads and like this, that, and the other. And as long as you don't like crazily overdo it or have stuff that's like too heavy, you can feel very, very good consistent energy on this way, even if it's not like any raw, or at least in my experience. And like the digestive ease is really improved compared to like, let's say, having mixed raw foods. It's a bit like air, like let's say you're having starchless vegetables or mucusless, like only like your only cooked food might be broccoli or like cauliflower or like carrots. You're probably not going to feel too tired after eating a lot of these foods. Same with fruitarian, unless you're having like too many avocado mixtures, which is a really bad mixture, like durian. I feel like durian and avocado are really, really bad mixtures. You kind of just want to have them on your own. So like you can be a fruitarian who's having really heavy and dense, like a ton of like durian. That's not going to do your GI tract much like cleansing affordability at all if you're having like too many avocados, even if it's just pure avocados. But most people don't have pure avocados. Some people do, but yeah, I can see why Erit and Erit's fans are like definitely kind of almost against avocados. They're such a problematic fruit. They don't mix good. You don't want to mix durian either.
So that brings up really good points. The brother had the question about the bell peppers.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the starches. So there's food combining. And there's the thing about liquidarianism, right? So in my experience, definitely there's good case for high raw for pretty much everyone. In terms of the enzymatic benefit, in terms of like, I think it was Dr. Linus Pauling, who discovered that if you didn't have enough raw food, your body would go into leukocytosis and start to kill its own white blood cells, and so, and that's that whole inflammatory process that starts once you get too much on the side of acid. So, going into Dr. Sebi, going into, Robert Morse, the whole thing of the alkaline foods versus acidic foods. I think if you can stay high raw, that'll keep you mostly on the alkaline side, right? It's going to be higher in water, which keeps you a little bit on the liquidarian side.
Yeah.
But there's this whole benefit depending on your dosha and your body type, your genealogical history, where you are in your healing, where you may need like the thing about liquidarianism that is kind of universally applicable, whether it's cooked or raw, is that we are mostly beings of water.
Yeah.
And we are mostly dehydrated. Even if you're raw, a lot of raw food is dehydrated crackers and
I'm having a liquid. It's like a monoform liquid. It's actually just, I think, some organic oat milk from the store. So like I'm a bit like a mixture of everything I described, like raw food, fruitarian, liquidarian, and Aaron. But I usually don't eat cooked food, really, to be honest. But it's only since my toddler started having some more cooked food, I join in with her a little bit. But I find I have to be careful not to have the starchy cooked food too much, or the like legumes, like lentils. I think like the lentils and the potatoes are a bit heavy, and they slow down and clog, and then they stick there. And then when you eat raw foods or liquids, it catches up with those starchy foods and miscombines, and you're left with like a non-streamlined digestive system. So I feel there's a lot to what Eric says with starchless or mucusless or liquidarian. Even if it is this, there's no way this isn't going to be clogging you much at all. Just a monoform liquid,
Yeah. Think of it. I love the way Dan McDonald put it recently: is all disease is just obstruction, and health is just the clearance of obstruction. Whether it's mental, physical, or emotional. And,
it is. Yeah, and relational, definitely, 100%. It's exactly what Eric basically said, right? Like just obstructions.
You're like a pressure gas electricity machine, mostly, and we get our energy. Your skeleton is a piezoelectric, pyroelectric, carbon silica crystal that is a resonator.
That sounds so good.
A resonator, a conductor, a semiconductor, and a superconductor. So and then your heart is like a 0 point energy device. So if you can just get the flow of love, and the flow, of your
Yeah.
consciousness from your heart field open, then
Yeah.
it actually feeds you, and that's what I feel the process of breatharianism is. But it's this one
Yeah.
more asides in the dietary thing. One more thing I want to add before we kind of continue on down the road. You're
Yeah.
mentioning about the combining and starches. I feel personally that starches are just not a great human food in
Yeah.
general.
Not really.
Drunk up your system, and that's
Yeah.
trouble with a lot of like the more tropic foods and things, like meat and fat or avocados, or as they
Yeah.
just tend to build this accumulation more. So it's just something to be wary of it, and you may need
For
to like
sure.
flip back and forth.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other thing I wanted to mention about the food combining is that it's best to start your day with fruits. They're going to be the easy. You can digest fruit in like 20 minutes. You know, um, and then or take your heaviest meal, hopefully in the middle of the day.
Yeah. 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 Like 12 noon, 1 o'clock, even whatever, approximately that time. That's when our digestive's the strongest. Yeah.
And so that's when you would want to do your proteins, your fats. If you're going to do something heavier or
Yeah.
bigger, do it then. And then at the end
Then
of your day,
wind down. Then yeah.
and stuff, or do, if you're fasting, rather than do skip breakfast, skip dinner. You know, um,
Yeah. Skip dinner. Sorry, I might have interrupted you there. So you were saying after the main meal. What were you saying is the last meal?
I would say greens, or skip it. You know,
Yeah.
do a big salad. Um,
Yeah.
something with fiber to, especially if you have that heavier meal in the middle of the day, that's going to
Yeah.
help uh, work it through. And
Yeah. But be
so
cautionary with having fruits, especially if it's not like enough time to, because the fruits are going to catch up and like catch up with the heavier meal that has a slower bowel transit time. So you don't
yeah,
want them to be catching up and fermenting, and then there's just a weird gassy mixture. Yeah, yeah. So just if
yeah.
you are going to do fruits later after cooked food, try and make enough time. But yeah, it's a little bit. Have to be careful of that.
What would you say, like 3 or 4 hours, right? Between
It depends how heavy, but yeah, it could be like, it depends on what you eat, right, and how heavy it was. But yeah, it could be between 2 and 5 hours. Like, yeah, we could say 3 or 4 hours is somewhere in the middle. Yeah, we
yeah,
have to pay attention to our bodies. Everybody,
yeah,
it's not like the same maths works for everybody. Like I have a very fast metabolism. That's probably why I'm talking so fast. Like I haven't had any stimulants or nothing.
yeah.
Do you know, chocolate has been hard for me to give up. I realize I'm addicted to caffeine, or like have a habit of caffeine. I don't really do coffee or tea or any other stimulants or drugs like that. But I have had a chocolate thing going on for many years, and I didn't realize just how caffeinated it was until I started paying attention more and more to my body and trying to give it up and giving it up periodically. I even gave up solids. Like I gave up solid chocolate this year, like 95%, more than 95%, 98%. But then I switched to more liquid chocolate. I gave that up most, like 80, 90%, probably 90% or more. But I find like it's still a little bit hard to like give up fully. And it reminds me of people like my friends or other people, a lot of people I know saying that they're trying to give up coffee. But well, I'm part of this boat here. Like I'm in this, and I really don't want to have these like ups and downs. I don't mind it up too much, but sometimes it can be a little bit too stimulated. But I don't want the down, especially my vital energy, or like a dip in my energy when I have things to do and responsibilities and parenting, or even just playing and meeting friends. I don't want to be on a downer day then because I had too much chocolate the day before, and I don't want my like sleep affected at nighttime. Because apart from diet, like sleep is the fundamental recharge. We want to go to bed on a super rested digestive system. It's like, Brian Johnson. I'm sure you know him, like the millionaire. He sold his company for 800 million. Well done to him. But he's like his main thing is longevity, don't die, and basically his number one factor is sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So he's all about like going to bed at 8 o'clock for him. That's his time. He finishes his last meal at 11. I never heard what he has after 11. It's probably just water and some powders or supplements, but no food, nothing to chew on or eat, and maybe at most just like something like a juice or a powder and a water, like a supplement. Yeah, not even a juice. So it's just like supplement or just water after 11 a.m. Then he goes to sleep, and he's measured it. He says 9 hours for him is the optimal. He measures everything. The most measured biomarker man in history. So sleep,
Yeah,
sleep, sleep. I feel that's my priority too. because if I get a good sleep, I'll eat better and I'll have less emotional distress and less physical cravings. Whereas
Yes.
if I get a bad sleep and I'm feeling tired or cranky the next day because I'm tired, or what's the word, like uninspired or unmotivated energetically to like play or have fun or like work or play with my kids or do work or anything, I'll be demotivated if I've had a really bad sleep or not enough sleep. So for me, sleep is actually my number one too, in all fairness. And I try to go to sleep ASAP. Like I try and go to sleep as soon as I can. I've basically given up the habit again of using my phone at nighttime when others have gone to sleep. Once my toddler goes to sleep, I'm already on the ball, like getting ready. What Go to sleep myself.
That's good practice, and I totally agree. And they say the hours of sleep you get before 12 matter
Yeah,
more. You know.
that's been my experience too. I've actually even got to bed like 6:30. Not last year a few times, but then my toddler grew older and we didn't have super busy days. Like, in sense, he wouldn't be falling asleep at 6:30 anymore, and I'd be wrecked sometimes. But yeah, I try to go to bed ASAP, like between 8:30 and 10:30. The earlier the better, though.
That's
I notice a
totally.
difference.
It's totally wise. It's totally good advice. You know, and I agree. It's part of breatharianism, and the fact that we're all breatharians is this fact that we're energy beings.
Mm,
We need energy, and we think of energy in terms of food, but a lot of what we choose to eat and digest, that digestion takes more energy than we get out of the food.
good
You know,
point.
and that it's more that stimulation, like you were saying. People, once they start to get tired, they think, I think
Yeah,
I need some food. But if you stopped at that moment and
and fell
meditated,
asleep.
did
Oh yeah,
some,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or took a nap, you would probably find that you're not actually all that hungry.
Yeah,
You
if you did have a nap, you'd probably wake up feeling a little bit groggy, or maybe you wouldn't, but then you'd have like lots of energy. Or if you, like you said, if you meditated. And I do the same thing because I can't always have the affordability to have a nap as a parent, you know?
Mhm.
Obviously, you can't, like if you're with your kids or whatever else. So I do like go to food, even if it's raw food or this, like whatever the case may be. It's not like I'm having a stimulant, but
Yeah,
like food does sort of like activates your digestive system, it stimulates your digestive system, whatever word you want to use. It's not a toxic stimulant like a coffee or caffeine or that type of stuff, but it's the
I,
whole breatharian stimulant thing nonetheless, like you're saying. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I noticed that I oftentimes, don't feel like I actually need food at the end of the day of work, but I just do it anyways. You know,
precisely. You're human, you have your juices. It's like not solid food, right?
yeah, and it's like kind of thing, like you were saying. You also mentioned earlier the sociability aspect of eating with your kid. You know,
Yeah,
don't be so purist that you'll miss out on the joyful moments with your family.
yeah,
You know,
100%, 100%. Yeah,
be there for that. That's actually an energy that will feed you. It's more important, that you. And I actually experienced this. Ellie Tom at one point. I'd already gone liquidarian. He came here and gave teaching here at our place, and he was here for like a good couple weeks. It was really nice to spend the time with him and just like absorb his knowledge. And at one point, he
yeah,
told me, "You need to eat once a week with your family." He said,
mm,
"Like eat a solid meal with them once a week." And I was
mm,
like, "What?" But I just like did all this to get to here, and now and he's like, "Trust me, it will. You will advance. You'll do better." And I did,
yeah,
because
yeah,
on one hand, I'd eat that and I'd feel that connection and I'd have the catharsis of that thing that I wanted, that I was kind of holding off on.
yeah,
On
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
totally.
other hand, I was sitting with my family, enjoying something, not being the weirdo with my, juice. And
The
you know,
green bottle.
we eat totally differently anyway. So it's they eat whatever, and I've been on raw food for 14 years or more.
Yeah, yeah,
So
man. That's so important. What you said. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, being too strict and shame and like we need to like let ourselves.
give yourself permission.
We have to give everybody permission. It's like it's a hard one to give other people permission, but we don't want to give too much. We don't want to give permission to be abused or like excessive permission to be neglected and abandoned, but we want to give like a softer permission where we're not being downtrodden, but everybody makes mistakes. We give permission to be human and make mistakes, but to make up for it, like make up and learn from it. That's a healthy permission with a relationship, for example. Yeah.
And when you fail or whatever, don't view it as a failure. It's just a learning process, and then just start the next day again. You have the next day.
Yeah.
I want
Absolutely.
to mention the comments real quick.
Yeah.
Theo Lux said, "Start slow, use your sense and intuition." Absolutely, Theo. That's precisely what Owen and I both would love to empower you all to. You guys, your higher self is just as smart as anybody else's higher self. Your body is has divine guidance. You always know exactly what you should do. We just don't always do what we know.
Yeah.
Um, Alb Essine says, "Do you notice you dream more when eating less?" I had a really exciting experience around that personally when I switched to dry fasting 23 hours a day and liquidarianism, and I was only needed to sleep about 5 hours a night. But I was
Nice.
having dreams. I wasn't having more dreams, but I was having way more vivid, way more like um, they were more psychedelic than any psychedelic experience I'd ever had.
Pretty cool.
Um,
I remember your post back then when you first started sharing that. I was commenting saying, "Tell me more about your dreams."
it was so cool. I was having like just these amazing like experiences and downloads, and it was that's we spend a third of our life in dream time, and to become masterful of the dream time, like the Buddhists talk about trying to dream while you're awake and be awake while you're dreaming, so that
Yeah.
you're in this constant state of like mindful lucidity. And I definitely noticed that. Yes. That's the one.
Is your sleep still like? Do you feel your dreams are still like this after the long term of having just 1 hour drinking window?
It has changed with some of my change in habit and behavior. I took that on mostly during winter, which is when I have less work, you know.
Yeah.
And in the summer, when I'm working in gardens 5-6 hours a day and running around and lifting and hoisting in the sun and everything like that,
Yeah.
you have definitely more of a need for sleep, you know.
Yeah. For
I'm
sure. Yeah.
sleeping probably about 7 hours on average,
Yeah.
sometimes less, sometimes more. And the lucidity, I had cannabis was something that brought me to my first experiences, authentic spiritual experiences and connection with nature. And I had a long habit with cannabis that's the other thing that I found on this path is these things like resolve themselves when when I started working with raw foods and cleansing and stuff. Alcohol left, not because I decided to quit drinking, but it wasn't, I, I was still drinking sake, and I took some sake to a party for a New Year's party, and I had a little bit, and I was like, man, I am lower, not higher,
Yeah.
not what I want, and so
That's what happened to me as well. Yeah. Because I was so devitalized and tired after like burning myself out completely and utterly, like so bad when I was 19 and a half and 20, I'd go out and socialize or at nighttime to a party or to a pub, and I'd literally have some alcohol and I just feel tired. Like I don't want to go. I was already tired because I went from like level 10 energy to level 1 energy out of 10, and I just feel tighter. So I'd want to go home and sleep. So I felt like this is very antisocial. It's not helping my mood or my partying or fun time. I just want to curl up in bed more. So I basically gave up like alcohol when I was like 20, and I've only tried it a few times since then, and it's just definitely tiring on my system. Like I've had a tiny bit of it, a very 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 tiny amount. Yeah, so I'm 42 now, so that was a long time ago. Probably gave up alcohol when I was 20, gave up chemicals when I was around 19, 20, and gave up chocolate and cooked food much more predominantly this year. And I also like gave up some unhealthy relations this year.
cheers.
Giving up a lot this year. And I'm giving up more solids this year.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Well, yeah.
You were saying that's hard, is it? the
Yeah,
relationship.
the relationship I think is
Ships.
the hardest one. Our relationship with food is hard too, definitely, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
all these practices. The more you can, you know, really step into your own inner guidance through meditation and like really listening to your heart and yourself,
yeah.
and then
Reflection.
do what it says, even if it's hard. You know, even the small little things. Like um, we were having a
Yeah,
conversation before we hopped on here about just like separation anxiety, going away
yeah,
from loved ones. But the more you do it, the more it becomes like just easy. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and the same with the foods, stepping away from any old habit that isn't serving you. We're all meant to live. I love. There's this quote: "The enemy of the good is the great is the good." If things are good enough, we won't change things. But we're meant to live great lives.
yeah.
This is a great being. We're not
I
here
like that.
to kind of it's
So,
good.
say the quotation. I love that concept. I love it. I totally agree. We're the beautiful, amazing souls of like highest caliber, like love, light, and joy, and freedom, and peace, and knowledge and wisdom, and like we can have and we deserve the very best in life, and everybody else too. But yeah, what was the quotation again?
It was the enemy of the great is the good.
Oh, yeah, I love that. That is so good. I love it. That's so great.
It's true, and
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah,
you know I firmly believe in reincarnation, but this
yeah, yeah.
particular birth, this particular existence, is a precious one.
Oh
We
yeah,
don't just like make the most of it. Give your body the best foods. Give yourself the sleep. Give yourself the permission when you mess up. Give yourself, the room to let go of old relationships that don't help you anymore. Like love yourself
yeah,
like a child, you know.
yeah. Let go of fear, and if you're stuck in any bad situation, try and let go of fear, and let go of fear of facing your emotions too, feeling them, and let go of fear of a possible like what will happen if, and then find loving, conscious, caring, wise support. It could be a paid person, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be an uncle, it could be whoever, someone on the internet even. Definitely try and connect and have ongoing connection to support you in tough changes. That's
Mm.
for me, and I definitely say for pretty almost everybody. If it's a tough change and it's a struggle to let go of, get some help. And that could be definitely related to relationships. That's probably the hardest part, like Jess was sort of saying. But also with the whole food thing too. Anything. But it's definitely like really tough or toxic or negative or abusive or like type of relationships if it's really bringing you down. Because we don't want to just love ourselves, like I said earlier, like nurturing and feeding ourselves. We want to protect ourselves and say no and get away from the negative stuff that drains us and pulls the life and the time and the energy out of us too. But we're giving permission to that by staying there.
Mm.
Boundaries for me, my biggest lesson in more recent times. Boundaries are a must, and that's part of self-love, self-protection. You can't love yourself if you're not protecting yourself, right? That's not loving to put up with anything and everything from whoever, over and over again, you know?
Yeah,
And yeah, we can do that.
it
Yeah,
seems
that's all.
harsh when you present a boundary, but it's actually the more loving thing, you know. And it's I think a really hard thing for us collectively. I think we've been entrained to be people pleasing, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
to perform for your teacher, for your parents, for your boss. You got to do what someone else, the expectation someone else has of you. And there's plenty of people I know, even like my dad, for instance. He made this thing. It was like, well, I will put aside my principles for my livelihood to support my family, you know. And um, Teal Swan talks about this thing of compromise, that
Oh,
you
yeah,
don't want
no,
to compromise. You don't want to be on a bridge that's compromised, right? Like
no.
there's places where you feel like you can bend, you can be flexible, but when you compromise, you actually it's something that you can't compromise. It's something that is one of your
Yeah,
needs that you need to honor and put a boundary around.
yeah, absolutely. In terms of like people harming you, that's the boundary. We need to be not harmed. We need to be like treated with love. But yeah, in terms of what Teal is saying, compromise is where somebody loses or maybe both people lose, but it's okay to sort of compromise with something that's like super minor, like should we go to the park today or to the beach? That's not a serious issue. But when we're talking about serious issues, like our beautiful Jessie just said, if it's a serious issue or a need, for example, like what was I going to think of? A compromise.
I
Like,
can give an
give us
example.
an example. Like
I mean,
ethics. That's a really good example.
for me, is my dietary choices and my family's. I didn't realize I was compromising myself to, just be a part of them eating animals. You know,
Yeah, for sure. And everybody has a different system. Like that's what I mean. Like everybody has different ethics, or different wishes and values, or standards, or different things that they need. Is very important to them. So we don't want to compromise. Like it's incompatibility. Like some things is a big no, and some things are an okay. Like, shall we go to this shop or this shop today? That's an okay. We can compromise. Like, I want to go there more, but I don't mind being flexible. Whereas when it comes to, like, let's say if somebody's like homosexual, that's an incompatibility downright to be going out with opposite sex gender person. And the same way with ethics, if you have strong values or an ethical system for yourself over whatever the subject, betraying that is an incompatibility with somebody who doesn't hold the same moral or ethical or value standard or belief system or feelings in their heart, you know? So like killing or ruining the environment could be an ethical thing. They're just wrecking the place, like, littering and stepping on a whole lot of stepping on ants, various forms of like hurt or behavior. It could infringe on our system of ethics. So yeah, that's like, you have to be careful. It's not very good to be sticking around in those relationships or situations.
it undermines your integrity and your peace. You know, um, and so that's something that we're working on relationally. Is my honoring of their choice. You know, but
Yeah,
also honoring of my, because for the longest time I was just like, I can let it go. It's just my, you know, but I've come to find it just comes up again and again and again. My heart keeps
yeah,
telling me, this matters too much for you to like, we have to find a different way to interact on this level. And so what I've chosen to do is they just eat whatever and I drink my juice and we go out and have other kinds of fun, and it's really
yeah,
challenging, but it's also a good practice in that there's so much, coming back to food and emotional eating and all that. So much of what we do collectively as humans is to get together and eat. And most of that is done out of anxiety of the other person's projections and all this stuff that is not relevant to your peace. And this path of breatharianism, that's what I see it's really about, is about freedom and peace. The
freedom and peace. Yeah,
in your body of not being overstimulated and under and up and down. And, because as you pointed out, this is a huge thing. This is the Kundalini energy moving up and down, that stimulation up into your crown or down into your root. And we can learn to uh, control this with breath and practice. Or we can be swung around by stimulus outside of us, that person that comes that makes you nervous and draws out your energy. And then you feel like you got to eat more. Or you can put a boundary, like Owen's, pointing out, and being like, truthful and the fact that this relationship is drawing from me, and you have to find a way to like communicate that non-violently as possible, but it's
yeah,
important to state your boundary, and
yeah,
these are the
definitely.
ways we reclaim our energy and become energy beings, self-organized energy beings again, taking care of our health, our sexual energy, our relationships, pulling all these little pieces of ourselves that get non-localized by our activity. And I think meditation, as Ellie Tom always talks about, meditation is the foundation.
Yeah, yeah. He always says that. I love it.
Vegetarianism of health, of mental health, of physical health. Just breathe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like what you said, and it's, what you said is like very, can be confused, and it's confused me. The whole idea of like, we should just accept each other. You shouldn't judge each other, another person, like non-judgment and the teachings of acceptance. But judgment just means condemning, and you don't be harshly condemning like criticizing and attacking others. That's all judgment really is. It doesn't mean not to discern and like have an opinion. That's you're always entitled to an opinion and a discernment. And acceptance just means trying to have inner peace. That's all it means. Like trying not to have an inner big fight or quarrel with somebody, inwardly or outwardly, to try and accept. But acceptance can be very like misunderstood. Like we don't want to just accept and put up with stuff that's negative or destructive or harmful, either to us or our family or anyone else, really. Acceptance. We need to self-reflect to know what's important to us, so we can love ourselves or have a boundary to remove ourselves from a toxic situation or habit or relationship or environment. That's what a boundary is. A boundary doesn't mean you got to stop doing this, because we can't control anyone. We can't try and pretend like we can't control others. Like that's not on to try and control others. That's breaching the law of like, free will. But like we can't control others. Like I can't control you right now. I can't move your body or your mouth, and you can't do it to me. But like, for example, if somebody, let's say, is breaking into our house, we can't control them, but we can control our words to say, please stop or go away or get out or chase them off or something, or fight them off if we really feel the need. So in the same way as in a relationship, we can't say you have to stop like attacking me or like talking to me this way, or you got to stop this. We can say this, but we don't have the power to control them and make them stop. So what a boundary means is we have the power to control our own body, our words, and our behavior. So for example, we could say like, I'd really like you to talk more gently or tenderly or peacefully and consider my feelings, wishes, and needs, and bring things up more gently instead of harshly or loudly and interruptedly. We could just basically say this in whatever way we want to say it. I'd like you to be more gentle and consider me or this. I need you to, for example, give me back the car keys when you borrow my car, or, there's a way we can get into this more deeper, like how to communicate, because that's like a really, really long topic. But what the boundary would mean is, for example, if you keep interrupting me or raising your voice at me or calling me personal names and put downs, which is different than just having a general debate or discussion with your partner or some other human being. If you are personally calling me an idiot or saying, are you stupid, or like, that type of stuff, or interrupting me constantly, I'm going to put up a boundary and go away for 30 minutes to an hour, and then we can try again, talk about it. Or if this keeps happening and you can't stop being personal and calling me names or calling me selfish, or like, what are the words apart from like stupid is, or like you're calling me
or just name calling,
lazy, any name calling, like any personal put downs. If you continue this, then I'll have to walk away from this friendship or relationship completely. So that's what a boundary is. It's you control yourself to get further or further and further or fully away from a toxic or negative person or relationship, basically, or an environment in general, like, that type of stuff. So you're just looking after yourself, that's all.
It's a clear no. Your no has a universal energy to it, a universal potency, that if you in your energy really feel no and you say no, it's like it has to be honored. I mean, there's acts of physical violence and things like that, but it's still energetically, it is your protection, so the same transposes over to food, all those things, all those other habits, all those things that aren't, like, say you love donuts and you just can't put them down, but they're really messing with your health, and you come to a point you have to no, this is a big not, and I really like the advice you put forth of reach out to someone. You're 60% more likely to be successful if you have an accountability partner, if you have someone who will, like, kind of hold you to it, and or just give you support. It's more like it,
Yeah, I won't lie, Jesse. I gave up meditation for so many years, but that was after a really intense spell of practicing around 5 to 6 hours of really intense mindfulness every minute for like around 5 hours a day in my early 20s, and then I just like gave it up. I was like, whoa. I reached a really interesting state back then. I was like a little bit like a hermit, like house sharing. I was like having a quiet life. I was physically drained, and I had like wild extents of like 5, 6, 7 hours a day of like really intense, pure, like deep mindfulness. Like if I was looking to face the door, I'd be mindful of it. If I was talking, I'd be mindful of it. If I was moving my hand to the doorknob, I would be mindful of it. If I was turning the doorknob, I was mindful of it. Opening it, walking every step, I was mindful. That was really interesting. But then I gave it for so many years. I don't really meditate per se, but I may meditate now for maybe once a day or twice a day. At the retreat, it was twice a day for 7 minutes. There's 2 sharings in the evening and in the morning, our new rising sharing circle for an hour and a half approximately, which was like probably my favorite part almost.
Mm-hmm. Meditation could be a walk. Meditation could be a nap. Meditation could be,
yeah.
It's more like give yourself time to regulate yourself.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And here's where I love it the most. Not specifically here, but the beach. I find the sound of the waves to be the most regulating thing for my nervous system and my body that exists. I even prefer like the beach personally, like the waves, more than like other places, like by nature, like mountains or forests. But obviously, I totally get regulated there too. It maybe just takes a little bit longer or something. It's a different form. But what was I going to say? I've never had an accountability partner either, but I've had massive, wonderful support, especially in more recent years, of seriously wise and caring counsel. Mm-hmm. Wonderful friends. And I fully agree with paying for support if you need it. Get people who are like, know stuff is deeply. I find, did you ever see the tree of like ancient, like scriptures? Like there's a tree and there's maybe compassion, understanding, knowledge, wisdom. Like knowledge and wisdom, I find really, really important, including the whole knowledge part. For me, doing a lot of like study as well as self-study or self-reflection. Like, where is this coming from? Why am I doing that? Why did I say that? Like, why did I feel the way because of that, or what that person did or didn't do? Like, why did this big thing come up in me and all this sort of? So I do that self-reflection part, but then I also might study knowledge. Like, so I do a mixture of work, play, parenting, and study. Yeah, I try, like, I've accumulated my knowledge base a lot this year, and I found that to be very, very, very helpful for me in my life.
I think it's so key. It's key to the breatharian path. It's key to a fulfilling life. If you work on yourself, if you study yourself, and you follow your passions and your interests, and you research them or dig into them, then sort of like kind of becomes you, and in a meaningful way, in that you become like a walking resource of that thing that you're trying to heal, that you can then share with others these tools. Like, I didn't even know about anxious attachment style until our conversations, and
that's been a pivotal game changer for me in many ways.
My whole life I was like, I'm fine, I'm good,
Yeah. I know, like, it's when you learn, it's very specific. Like, there's one thing about general, like what I've been learning is about, like, for example, like the attachment styles: secure, anxious, avoidant, or dismissive avoidant, and then fearful avoidance. Like, thankfully I have one of my strongest counsels and friends, or she's a secure attachment, which is amazing. So she can model what it's like to be a secure attachment to your child or to a relationship. And if you see a big difference in how she's feeling and thinking and perceiving and behaving in her relationship, let's say with her child or her partner or person, and how you are feeling, thinking, behaving, that's a big something to look at. And then I'm absorbing loads of knowledge and information, like from people like Teal Swan, like Tim Fletcher, Coach Ryan, and a few other people as well, and just like learning, video over and over again. It's a bit like what I did with raw foods back in the day, for a long time. But sometimes you just get the exact area or piece of information that applies to you specifically that's needed to create big transformation. Like, you can learn all sorts of amazing things about, like, the pyramids, the stars, your archetype of this, that, and the other archetype, or various things about anything and everything, but it could be something specific just right now that you need at this particular area. And that's what's happened to me this year as well, that I it was just the time that was meant to be. And I've had a lot of accelerated like growth in the last year. Like I even have a friend who measures how much trauma you were born with out of 100. Not born literally with out of the womb, but in the first formative 7 to 10 years. And
Yes.
so that's what the soul knows it's going to get, because it chooses its parents and like home and family and location, etc. And then how much you've healed, like let's say up to now, of that number out of 100, and 71 is the highest score, you know. So I know what I got. Like I was 52 out of 71 being the highest out of 100. Like out of 71 being the highest, I got 52 for me. And then when I was 24, I'd healed 18% of that. But 6.5 years ago, when I entered my current, 6.5 years ago, the relationship I was in, 6.5 years ago, I was only, I think, 35% healed. Whereas beginning of this year, 2024, I was like 59. So in around like 6 years, I went from 35 to 59. But in the last year, I basically went from 53. A full year ago from now, I did ayahuasca, and that things happened. It wasn't just ayahuasca. Things happened that triggered past pain. So within 1 year, I went from 53 up to now around 70, 73. So I did a huge amount of accelerated growth in just 1 year, which previously 6 years or more had to take.
This reminds me of a good point from Atomic Habits. And this is part of the thing with Breatharianism. This is the thing with, self-healing, with physical health, with financial wealth, everything. So the point is made about ice, right? Under 32 degrees, it remains solid ice. Right there at 32, it just starts melting a little bit. Like you don't really notice. But every degree up it goes, pretty soon it's a puddle of water, and that's how it goes with these things. We want like the quick and obvious, like I take this pill and now I feel better,
Yeah.
But true healing is going to have this thing where you don't perceive it, you don't perceive it, you don't perceive it, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're going, and I love it.
Yes. Just keep plugging away, all in divine timing.
Yes, you will come right when you're ripe and ready into your fullness in whatever aspect of your life you're working on, growing and nurturing.
And if you want to, if I could say, if you want to accelerate your healing growth and progression in life, definitely get like a teacher or mentor or a healer or a wise, loving counsel, people who can work on you or share with, like a safe talking container or vessel to listen to you and care for you and give you suggestions or advice and love you and care for you. And definitely keep learning, like what I suggest, like learn relevant information is very applicable to you, and try and learn better relationships. I'd recommend that, because sometimes we just don't know what we don't know. Learn about health, definitely. I know a lot of people are here for health, definitely. But what's the point of having a half decent or decent health or good enough health and you're struggling, but in shitty relationships that are toxic and stuck in households with people who don't value or respect you, treat you with dignity and care, So you need to learn the empowering. Listen, so if anyone wants like any like consultations or like sessions or like coaching and any of that type of stuff, we're available. Like definitely, or there's other people. I'm not trying to like sell myself, or Jesse's not trying to sell him. Just do something with somebody. So go to the area. We don't know what we don't know. So it's good to learn about health, and you probably know a lot about that, and that's good. And there's also stuff we all don't know about health still. So we're still going to keep learning about that. But you don't want to neglect certain avenues, such as like communication, relationships, boundaries, healthy relationships, how to be healthy, happy, and available in life for a really soulmate, high vibrational relationship, how to communicate, how to have a high vibrational relationship with yourself, how to have a secure attachment with other people, learn about trauma, like about complex trauma or CPTSD as it's called, learn about the attachment styles, secure, dismissive avoidance, fearful avoidance, and anxious avoidance. I come from an anxious avoidance background. Like Jesse was saying, people pleasers, and we look after others but not ourselves. We neglect ourselves. So the very last thing I wanted to say, which is on my mind just for a little bit, is what Jesse was saying. We need to learn. We need to have a big no, yes in life. We need to have a big no in life too, and we need to not just say if you like make physical contact with me in a relationship, then I'm going to leave. or if you yell at me and put me down and gonna like walk away or leave, you can't just say it once or twice. You actually got to do it. You have to not just put up a boundary, which if you do this, I'll do that. That's what a boundary is. If you do that, then I'll do this. You actually have to enforce or keep it. You have to. Otherwise, you're neglecting and betraying yourself. Neglecting yourself. We want to love ourselves. Loving ourselves isn't neglecting ourselves. The three main traumas are abandonment, neglect, and abuse. So, and yeah, we don't want to do that to ourselves first and foremost, and we don't want to take that from others. We have to do good for ourselves.
Whether it's your emotional relationship healing or your physical healing, follow through for you. You're your greatest asset. You're your most valuable thing in this world. You're going to experience all your relationships and all your money and all that through yourself. So make that, we've been inculcated to this concept of selfishness, and we can be. It's very much in our nature to be self-clinging and self-oriented, and so you have to bust that up as part of your liberation as well. But honor this, nurture this, like we were talking about, feed it well, teach, learn, grow, connect. And from that place, that's where you can't pour from an empty cup. So, but once you fill that cup over, it just starts pouring out. You can't help. You have to share.
Yeah.
And that's the balanced place to be sharing from, not from the martyrdom complex of I love you and so I'll bleed for you.
Yeah, selfishness is. Oh, sorry. Were you saying that?
Well, go ahead, and then I just want to catch the people's comments, and we should wrap up pretty soon. I have to get on.
Like Teal Swan says, we want a win-win relationship, a situation in a relationship. So selfishness is like is win for you and losing for other. We want to actually have I consider myself, and I want you to consider me, but I will also consider you, and that's a win-win situation. So that's what we want in relationships, win-win. So it's very healthy to be orientated towards yourself, and it's not healthy or positive to be not orientated to the well-being of another. So we want win-win. Consider you, consider them, all consider each other. That's how you have one way, the simplified way, and a very important aspect of having a healthy relationship. So yeah, do you want to go to the comment or anything closing words or?
Yeah, just real quick. Albacine says 25 years of no meat. My connection to birds, dogs, animals went to a higher level. Sometimes dogs come up to me and lay next to me. The pet owners usually say my dog doesn't usually do this, etc. Exactly. If you develop this calm, caring, abiding through all your practices, then no words are even needed. Like it's shared, it's felt, So that's really where the juicy place is. Everyone knows.
Yeah, I noticed being vegan for 18.5 years now, and I notice my relationship, or animals. I feel animals are either telepathic or they understand our words, like energetically or something, and they know you're caring and safe, don't they?
Absolutely, 100%. And if you're upset with them, they totally internalize that.
Yeah. It looks like you're on a tropical beach, Jesse. Like my beach is there behind me in the sea. It looks like you're up high on the mountain, like me, like on a hill, and beneath you there's the sand, and then there's a lovely Caribbean ocean water.
Yeah,
oh, the trick. That's hilarious. Yeah.
So, someone else says an analogy of 32 degrees to 33. Bang, it's on. Yeah, likes that. Okay, it's true. So just be mindful of that. You won't see it, and you'll be like, "What's going on? I'm doing all this stuff," and then you'll start. There'll be like a flip. Christine says, "So it's extremely difficult to heal living or being around toxic, unloving others around you." Yes.
Oh yeah, it's so hard. It's like such a crazy thing to put up with. We're neglecting and abandoning ourselves. By the way, we're choosing it. They're doing it, but we're choosing to stay.
And we spot it because we've got it. It's that thing of like we need to heal it ourselves because we're resonating that and calling that frequency in and as a mirror from another relationship. And my battery's about to die, so I'm just one last thing. Check out also Enneagram, Human Design, some of these other tools, and if you want to get a coaching call with Owen, I'll put his information in the description down below. I think I can edit that after the video.
Yeah.
Otherwise, where else can they find you, Owen? Is there a website?
I'm on owenfox.org, and I'm on that's owenfox.org, and I'm also on Facebook Messenger and Facebook in general, and I'm on YouTube. Owen Fox. It's called One Love, One Family, with Owen Fox, OWENFOX, and I'm also on, I think, TikTok. It's Owen Fox 1111 or something. But yeah, and if you spot it, you got it. But it comes a stage where you gotta like get out of toxic energies too, and then that means you're letting go of what you've got, and you're transcending and out of that phase. So, yeah. But
here.
Did you want to say anything, Jesse, or whatever? Closing.
This has just been a wonderful conversation. Lovely to chat with you today. I could go on. I meant to only do up to 11:30 because I was going to do stuff, but I really just enjoyed the time with you, Owen. So
me too, man. Big time. I loved it. It was great.
Thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you all who showed up. I hope you got something from this. Send you all the best. Also, if you'd like to book a call with me, I'll put my information down below. Just ziaenergeticsllc@gmail.com is my email. And hope everyone just has a beautiful day. One love to you all.
Yeah, life will just get better when you learn and get support. Say yes, say no, and heal yourself more. You know, and you deserve it. We all deserve it, because like what Jesse said, the opposite, the antithesis or the nemesis or opposite of being great. The greatness is good. Yeah. So
good enough isn't good enough, family. You guys are great. So
you're great. All right, thanks, Jesse.
Awesome.
Much love, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Jesse, so much. Lots of love, brother.
All right, you too, and blessings, family.
Thank you. Bye. See you.